Dune Awakening has just launched and I'm going in solo. No clan, no teammates, just me, and everything is trying to kill me. This is day one of my solo journey through Arrakis. Getting through the tutorial, I landed on Arrakis in the cooling night, knowing the sun would soon dawn and burn the sands again. The agenda was simple: get resources, build a base, and avoid the sandworms. Speaking of which, the sandworms were really angry today, so I hung around getting some of the essentials before travelling west. I'd spawned in a pretty decent spot, and heading over to this marker would put me right next to the first trial of Akil, giving me a great footing to then gather all the essentials and move north quickly. Dodging the worms, I moved west and got into the first trial. This one is pretty simple: dodge the eyes, it's all quite self-explanatory. At the end, I got my hands on the recipe for the iron and regular still suits, the key to surviving this harsh desert and pushing further north. I also realised at this point that I could actually transmog my armour into the Sardaukar armour, which really upped the fashion game for the rest of day one. After the trial, I went just a bit west and built up my first base, just a simple 4x2 using some of the Caladan Palace pieces too. Those are really nice. I then had to get my hands on some Fremen resources, so moseyed on over east again to find some caves and snatch up some of the micro sandwich fabric for our still suit. After some travelling and some kind of embarrassing combat encounters, we got the fabric from the fiery cave alongside a partially damaged Liturgon, which would be a huge help on the journey coming up. Back at home, I crafted up my still suit and grabbed some gear for the expedition ahead. Going northwest from home, I visited the trade post and picked up the Trooper training quest. Then I headed over to the Eco Lab in Haga Basin South and started the Planetologist questline too. This one is quite easy and takes us into the Eco Lab below him, where we were headed anyway to get some vehicle crafting resources, so kill two birds with one stone there. We got into the Eco Lab quickly, taking advantage of all the free water and picking up the Minimic film the Planetologist needs. I finished off the boss at the end, picked up the unique rewards, and on the way back east I got this weird bug where my camera ended up in my chest. Anyway, quick relog fixed it and we were back on our travels. Next I reached the wreck of the Alcyon that had already been partially cleared a couple of minutes before by another player. We got some shipwreck resources, and after finishing up the troopers' requests, I went back to try and double dip the loot at the wreck, but unfortunately no such luck, hadn't respawned yet. With trooper training unlocked and pockets full of rare resources, it was time to head home from Griffin's Reach trade post. The plan from here is to wrap up any loose ends in Haga Basin South, which I don't have too many of, and then craft a bike and take as many resources as possible north. That was my plan, but I'm not too sure what this guy's plan was. With the bike crafted, I swung back to the Eco Lab to finish up a contract, grabbing a few extra lab resources for later on. There were about 4 of us in this lab, and it was quite clear that the lack of player icons was causing a bit of confusion. Heading back to the trade post, a sandstorm rolled in pretty unexpectedly with only a 1-minute warning. With hardly any shelter nearby, a stream viewer actually was camped nearby and opened his base so I could shelter from the storm. After the sand had passed, I finished up the contract, and all that was left for me to do was traverse the vast expanse to the Vermilius Gap. No, instant regret. Absolutely not. No. With all my riches on me, and the angry worms rumbling in the sand, it was do or die. Getting eaten here would send me right back to spawn with nothing, and that could not happen. I'm shooketh. It's coming to eat me. After a rather tense journey, we reached the Eastern Vermilius Gap, the second area. With all my worldly possessions on my bike and in my pockets, the first order of business was to set up a new base so I had somewhere safe to keep my goodies. We might be out of the vast reaches of Haga Basin South, but there's still plenty of worm territory here in the Vermilius Gap, and if I wasn't a fan of getting eaten on the way here, I'm certainly not interested in being munched and sent right back to the south. Therefore, it's base time. After running out of stone, twice, I finally finished up the base. Just a pretty standard box for now. The Vermilius Gap can really slow you down, so I wanted to be as fast and efficient here as possible so we can travel even further north and get into the mid-game without getting trapped here for too long. I got the base set up, fueled the generators, built some basic machines and headed to a nearby enemy camp to grab an intel point and some loot. Whilst the loot was good, the enemies here were noticeably harder and I definitely need to get my hands on some better gear pretty soon, including some real armour. Cool as the Sardaukar transmog might look, it's still just a basic stillsuit underneath. Their blades and darts were shredding my poor health bar. Returning to the base, I climbed a nearby mountain and let off a survey probe to clear up the fog of war and reveal the Eastern Gap's secrets. I headed off again, stopping at an ironworks in the east to get my hands on some iron ore, iron bars and complex machinery. The latter is going to be really useful later on, so it's worth just grabbing it whenever I can. Further east, I stopped off to start the second trial of Arkle, one that is crucial for our progression. I snatched up the bike with my vehicle backup tool, super useful tool, I'll have a video about this soon. This trial is fairly easy but will unlock the static compactor. We're going to be using and abusing this piece of tech to gather up as much flower sand as possible in the future, alongside spice of course. With the trial finished, I now had the recipe I needed and progression just got a lot easier. I put my bike back down and headed back home, where I crafted my static compactor and smelted up some iron to create my Kirab iron stillsuit, a lovely garment that will keep us even safer from the sun and recycle even more water. As night crept over the sands again, we'd found a nice little pocket of peace on Arrakis. It seems most people were still down in Haga Basin south, and the Vermilius Gap was nice and quiet, for now, save for the rumbling worms and the stalking Sardaukar ships. Whilst we can revel in this small victory, our journey is still just beginning. Next time we'll have to start farming a serious amount of water to upgrade everything to iron, alongside braving a trip deep into worm territory to lay our hands on that vital flower sand. Furthermore, we desperately need some more vehicle parts for upgrades, and the nearest ecolab is a long and dangerous journey away, where one errant worm could leave us in a near impossible predicament. As day 2 dawns, the world is still vicious, the worms still furious, and I am still all alone. I got quite lucky at some points today, but I'll need more than luck in the next episode as we push further than ever before into the Western Gap and further to find the secrets of the Fremen and reach Dune Awakening's endgame solo. Thanks for watching, and a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel here on YouTube and get some exclusive perks, take a look at the new channel memberships available by clicking join just below this video. Take care, and I'll see you soon.